Hello, welcome to the YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about Dragon Ball Z releases, because believe it or not, Dragon Ball Z, one of the most popular animes of all time, has not had a definitive home media release. And why is that? Well, today I'm going to walk you a bit through my own personal preferences, a bit of my collection, obviously, and then we're going to talk a bit more about why certain releases are flawed. So let's look at for the sake of this video, keeping it simple, I won't be focusing on Dragon Ball, and I won't be focusing on Dragon Ball GT or Super. This will primarily be Dragon Ball Z. So let's have a look at Dragon Ball Z. In the early run of Dragon Ball Z, you had a release schedule of individual releases. This is when it was airing on, I believe, Tooney in America or Cheese TV here in Australia. Now you have stuff which these ones are called the Pioneer releases. So this one I have here has the original, what is referred to as the Ocean dub. And these ones are highly collectible. I mean, these have a different dub to the Funimation dub. So this is not Chris Sabat, this is not Sean Schimmel. This is, I forget his name, but the Australian guy who plays Goku, I forget his name. He's an Australian actor, though. Either way. Everything from about 1.1 to 1.17, they are the Ocean dub. And they have done many releases of the Ocean dub over time. They did one a couple of years ago in a box set, which contains also the original movies that were Dragon Ball Z, so the original 3 movies. They were called a box set called Rock the Dragon. And obviously people know the Rock the Dragon, Rock the Dragon. That is an iconic theme for Dragon Ball Z. So when that's referred to Rock the Dragon, Ocean dub, whatever, you're usually referring to 1.1 through 1.17. But those are flawed because when they were originally producing those, there were a lot of alterations to the series when they were putting it out for the American audience and the Western-speaking world. So there were many cuts where something like when they re-released it, I don't know exactly where it is. It's behind me. There's the Ultimate Uncut behind me. I'm not going to reach behind me and grab it. But yeah, Ultimate Uncut was what was meant to be that. But in later releases, when they did Blu-ray, level sets, whatever, they redubbed it with the Funimation guys. So you have something that's like 52, 53 episodes in the Ocean dub, which is actually like 66, 67 episodes in the main series. So that's how much they cut down in these releases. Although I prefer them because they have that original dub and, you know, it's just a little bit of intrigue. Is this thing on? I'm just going to check if this microphone is on because I feel like it's off. No, it's on. It's on, guys. Sorry to interrupt the flow of the video. But yeah. So you have the Ocean dub. And then from about 2.1 through to, where's the end of this? 5.17, they are what is referred to as the Funimation broadcast, or the OBA, the original broadcast audio for Funimation. And what I like about this is that even between later releases of Dragon Ball Z on DVD, they had changed a lot of the dub. There had been some different translations. They had redubbed a lot of lines. So this is as close as you can get it to original broadcast in terms of Funimation, and that is Chris Sabat. That is Linda Young. Is it Linda Young? Frieza. That is the original dub. That's what you're getting, and that is as close to the broadcast version as you can get, as it was broadcast on Toonami, how it was broadcast on Cheese TV in Australia. This is the closest you can get from 2.1 down to 5.17. That's as close as you can get. And let me just pull one of these off the shelf. My personal favorite is 5.10. This is something that I watched over and over again as a kid because I had this on VHS. So yeah, really great thing. This didn't have the Japanese audio on it though. Now, the difference between this one and the American one is that the American releases did have the Japanese audio. These ones didn't up till about, I think, 4.16, I think. That's when they started adding the Japanese audio. So these ones are flawed in the sense that they do not contain the Japanese audio. As the Ocean dub, they didn't contain Japanese audio either. But something like this is I preferred to collect these because I grew up with what is called the fandom music. Now, what is the fandom music? Well, a man by the name of Bruce Faulkner, he did the original score for the North American audience and the Western speaking world for Dragon Ball Z. Now, some people might say, oh, but that's sacrilege because he changed a lot of the music. We wanted the Japanese music. In which case, there are options on later releases where you can choose between English dub with Japanese music or English dub with English music. So there are options as you go through later releases of these. But for this has the Bruce Faulkner scores on it, has the original broadcast audio. So that's why I collected these, because this is the version that I grew up watching and I needed to have the original version I grew up watching. So yeah. So they're individual releases. Now, they're really hard to track down because, I mean, look, you can buy box sets. They did come in like boxes. Don't get me wrong, because they did. Some of these I got without boxes back in the day because, yeah, they were really hard when I started collecting these back in the day. So yeah, they do come in some collectible boxes. But let me just put this back up there very gently because I don't want to ruin it. So yeah, you have the individual releases. Now, they might cost you a couple of dollars on eBay per release, so you can pretty confidently track those down, although you're buying individually, unless you're going for box sets at a time, in which case you can pretty much pick up a couple of box sets. You might be in it for about $500, and then again, if you're in America, you might be getting the Japanese audio that way. Of course, they're using a Super VHS tape or something. I don't know exactly where their masters came from for Funimation when they were doing that dub, but it's not going to look as good as something like the Dragon Boxes, which I'll come back to later. That is where I'm going to go later on. I'm going to tell you about those last. So stay tuned. So you have the individual releases. Now, where a lot of people may have seen Dragon Ball Z for the first time, especially people who were getting into the series, they may have seen these things in the wild, and these are still readily available, called the orange bricks. Now in Australia, we didn't have actual brick versions like the actual cases. We had open up ones that had like the little things in it. You had the little booklet. So you had essentially the orange bricks in an actual cover. But these were flawed in the sense that they stretched the image. So they were cropped or anamorphic, which means that Dragon Ball Z was shot in 4:3 or square box, as you'd call the old TV style. That's how it was shot. And this tried to make it widescreen for widescreen TVs at the time. So this one is flawed in the sense that you are not getting the original aspect ratio. And also there is stuff cut out of it, like this made a lot of like, it just cropped it in at a certain point and said, done with it. So there's certain points where you'll miss the top of the image or the bottom of the image. Similar to what happened with The Simpsons, when The Simpsons came to digital on Disney at first, and you couldn't see all the information, and you kind of need all the information to get the joke, or in this sense, get all the information to understand the action and understand what you're actually supposed to be seeing. So this one, these ones in particular, the orange bricks, I would not recommend these to anyone. I mean, look, if you're just a fan of the series, if you just want to watch Dragon Ball Z, there are better options than this, but these are dirt cheap. So the only time I can use it, the only time I will recommend these is if you just want to get in dirt cheap. Like I'm talking about like less than $10 per these, and you're getting a whole series. So you're getting like how many episodes in this? 39 episodes on this one. You know, you could do it that way if you don't care what it looks like, if you don't care about quality, if you don't care about any of this stuff. This might be a good investment for you. I just can't recommend it because of how flawed it actually is. It's probably the worst release of Dragon Ball there is, or Dragon Ball Z there is. You can't, Dragon Ball fans will tell you, and very passionately tell you, the orange bricks are like the trashiest release of Dragon Ball you can buy. And there is a reason for that. There's a reason why all Dragon Ball fans agree on that, because they really are. And that's why they're at the bottom of my shelf, because they're like, if they're down the bottom and get damaged, I don't actually care. The further you go up, the more I care. What else do we have down the bottom here? We have, yeah, I'm not going to go into Super or anything. We've also got the movies. I'm not going to go into the movies or Dragon Ball. We're just going to stay on Dragon Ball Z. So let's look at some of the Blu-ray releases. I've got some Blu-rays off to the side here. Let me just see if I can find them. Oh, so we'll do a quick pit stop. we have something called Dragon Ball Z Kai, and these were also on DVD. But you have Dragon Ball Z Kai, and they usually, it was a pretty good series, but what Dragon Ball Z Kai is that it's not actually Dragon Ball. It's taking what was done for Dragon Ball Z and editing it in a way that is a new series. So with this, they've redone some animations, they've essentially changed some things, and the flaw with Dragon Ball Z Kai is that it removes the filler. And what is filler? Filler is those little moments, like episodes where nothing really furthers the plot that weren't actually in the manga drawn by Akira Toriyama. So there were add-ons for the TV series in Japan. So you have like Piccolo trying to get his license, for example. That would have been an example of a filler episode. Garlic Jr. Saga, for example, so 213 through 215, Garlic Jr. completely was a filler saga, which it wasn't part of the overall story of Dragon Ball Z, as Akira Toriyama's seen, so it was considered filler for the show. So Kai tries to speed up the action, gives it a lot faster pace. Some people actually prefer Kai. So there are hardcore fans of Kai. I personally prefer the original Dragon Ball Z if I'm going to watch it. But, there is preference. Some people prefer this, some people prefer that, some people prefer those. It's preference. I personally think it's respectable. This is a respectable job. They did really well with these. Except for these which, okay, so these are 4x3 as well. And these came from Japan as well. Well, not these versions, they didn't come from Japan. But like, Japan remastered these and then released them for the Western world. They got their dub and everything. And this was a new dub, new openers, everything. So it's not exactly Dragon Ball Z, as I said. Consider this a new series that draws from Dragon Ball Z and the animation from Dragon Ball Z with some redone stuff. This one went 16:9 and changed the aspect ratio. It's still Kai, but it's not the same as these. So just be aware of that. What else do we have here? I'm just going to keep going through Dragon Ball releases until we hit them all. I'll do these last, or second last. I want to show the level sets next, because I know a lot of people ask about the level sets. I've got two versions of the level sets. I've got the American ones and also the Australian. For this sake, I'm going to do the Australian releases, because they're exactly the same. So these are what are called the level sets for Blu-ray. Now, these were promising when they first came out. Many Dragon Ball fans were so excited by these because they were like, this is how Dragon Ball is supposed to look. After the orange bricks, we were wanting a really good transfer of Dragon Ball Z. And we got these. And these were really like what we could have had. Now, the flaw with these releases is that they are essentially stopped at 1.2, which is episode 34. You only get 34 episodes in this format, which is kind of crappy because it was really good. These looked amazing. Even better than the Blu-rays that came after. These looked amazing. But, they were remastering these actively and they weren't selling enough. The sad reality is that these didn't sell enough and they couldn't justify remastering it. So, they went back to these. And these are essentially these in HD format. They fixed up a couple of the cropping issues with these. These are the Blu-ray releases, but again, they go back to 16:9. Whereas the level sets were, what those level sets were, the orange level sets, those were 4x3. They were as close to the animation as they could get. They were essentially what were called Dragon Boxes, or these are referred to as Dragon Boxes. They were very close. These were more in line with the orange bricks. So everything that the orange bricks had wrong with them is probably on these. Although, if you want to watch Bruce Faulkner's score, this is good for Bruce Faulkner, because this and the orange bricks also have what the individual releases are. So if you want to watch the original North American music and dub, these will help you on that way. Although these are not exactly original to what the individual releases are, because as I said, there are certain calls that were made when they released DVD and Blu-ray that were not on these individual releases. And I know this is becoming complicated to follow, but this is the reality. This is just how complicated Dragon Ball Z media is. And then we also got these. We got, I think, yeah, okay. Then we got these weird Steelbook things, I think, a couple of years ago. Now these go back to 4:3, so it gets rid of the 16:9 aspect ratio, which it wasn't shot for, and also ruined a lot of the image. So it went back to 16:9, and these were the Steelbooks. So yeah, these ones exist. The only problem with these, and look, people tend to say, okay, these are as close to definitive as we're going to get on HD, at least until Japan gets involved and does a 4K remaster directly from the master over there. This is probably as close as we're going to get. But again, these have flaws as well. So the flaws with these is that essentially what they did is the remastered versions for the Orange Bricks and the Blu-rays, they just cropped it back in and made it 4:3 again. So essentially, it is not an exact look of how it was broadcast. And some people say, oh, but it's looking clean, it's looking that. That's because DNR was done, so it scrubs the image as well. So if you're not a fan of DNR, which is digital noise reduction, meaning it'll make it look like it was shot yesterday. And for an anime, that might work. For Dragon Ball Z, which was made on like hand-drawn almost, and like done by hand, it doesn't really work for me, but also these are beautiful sets. Like, I love these sets. The Steelbooks are just beautiful. I love the artwork on these Steelbooks. Like, look at that. Look at that artwork. Oh, this Vegeta one is freaking awesome. Look at that. That is beautiful. But the media inside, some people might not care. In which case, if you just want to watch Dragon Ball Z in 4:3, and it also has the Faulkner score as well. These have Faulkner, the Faulkner music, so it has that North American music. This might be the way for you to watch them. I personally think there's better ways to watch it, but in terms of definitive HD version of Dragon Ball Z with the original North American music, this is probably as close as you're going to get, unless you go out and track down the individual releases, which not many people are going to do. So this is probably the way. Now, I've been teasing them all this video, these things over here called Dragon Boxes. To many fans, these are considered the definitive way to watch Dragon Ball Z. Now, this is a Japanese Dragon Box that I've got in my hand here. Look at how big that bad boy is. This is a standard Blu-ray compared to it. Look at how big that is. Now, I don't have, this one is number 2. I think this is box 2. So it's got a lot in it. Let's pull one out here and have a quick look. Let's just put that down there gently. So you get these little booklets and you get the discs inside of them. And these are the Japanese ones. So I believe the Japanese ones had a bit higher bitrate than the American ones, but we'll get to that in a minute. So these don't have subtitles on, and they also don't have English dub on them. So essentially, if you're buying this, you're buying the action alone. And you need to be aware of that when you buy the Japanese one. A lot of Japanese releases do not have subtitles, do not have English dub. And that's the same thing with the recent release of Godzilla -1. So, or -0, -1, whatever it was called. That's Godzilla movie, the Japanese one, not the American one. That's the same if you're buying that. Like, the Japanese release does not have that dub, or like the dub, or like subtitles. Whenever you're buying it basically for the visuals. This has a lot higher bitrate than the American ones, but in terms of watching it, I would probably recommend, if you want to watch this, you'd probably want to learn Japanese first. But let's get to the one that's considered the best release of Dragon Ball on home media. Let me just bring them all together, because I'm going to hold them up together. And I know this video is getting quite long, but I'm hoping you guys enjoy this video because I'm putting a bit of effort into this one instead of sitting at a table in front of a bookcase. These are considered to be the definitive way to watch Dragon Ball Z. Oh, let's fix that image up. We don't want that to be like that. Why is Goku all out of place? Let's fix this image up. We'll put Goku back there and Gohan back down the end. There we go, that's looking a bit better. So there we go. And these are considered to be the best way to experience Dragon Ball. Now, I will say that if you want to watch the Japanese dub with subtitles, so that means you get Japanese music, Japanese voice actors, Masako Nozawa, you can watch these versions. These are the definitive way to watch the Japanese dub of Dragon Ball Z. If you don't speak Japanese, that is. These have subtitles. These also have English dub with Japanese music. Now, the flaw with the Dragon Boxes, in my view, is that the audio for Japanese, and this is, Japanese audio is on all of these releases, by the way. So if you were to buy these, there is Japanese audio on these as well. It has the same things across the board. Now, optical audio it sounds a bit muffled. There are things online now that have found the original audio from VHS tapes, and I believe it's in the hands of Chris Sabat. It's also in the hands of some other organizations that have licenses to Dragon Ball around the world, but there hasn't been put out an official release other than with Dragon Ball, which was, yeah. So it's promising that France have done this with Dragon Ball because they put the OBA back to this, the original broadcast audio for Japan, back to the original Dragon Ball. This was the original Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z. So it is promising that France is doing that with these releases, but we're all waiting for them to get to Dragon Ball Z. And also there's no subtitles on that, that's a Blu-ray. So, yeah, you're missing all that. Also, this doesn't have Faulkner music. So if you're looking for that American music, the North American music, or what the Western world would have seen when it was broadcast, you're not going to get it on this release, the Dragon Boxes. But the visuals are as crisp and close to the broadcast as you can get. So the visuals are reference quality, as we call it. Now, it's as close to broadcast as you could get. But most people say, yeah, this is the way to watch Dragon Ball Z. It's agreed upon by all Dragon Ball fans almost that the Dragon Boxes are the definitive way to watch Dragon Ball at this point in time. And some people say, yeah, the Steelbooks are also getting there at this point. Some people are preferring those, but in terms of widespread, everyone agreeing on this one point, the Dragon Boxes are the way to go. And yeah, that's my Dragon Ball collection, guys. What's my personal preference? Let's go to my personal preference. Individual releases. And that's because, yes, I love the Dragon Ball Japanese dub as well. I do go and watch that at times. I love how Nozawa delivers lines as Goku and also Gohan. Like, obviously the Cell Saga is a lot better with that Japanese music, I believe. But, you know, the Cell Saga with the English Faulkner music does it as well. And it comes down to preference at the end of the day. I can watch both, but I'm nostalgic for the one I watched growing up, which was on these individual releases. And I hope you can take something away from all this because, yeah, I've got a lot more releases off to my side here. Like, I got, what else down here? I've got Superhero, I've got all these other things over here. I've got the movies, got some, what's that? Oh, I've got all the Super, yeah. I've got a bit of everything off to the side. I've got the movies, but it's a matter of, like, look, I wanted to talk about Dragon Ball Z here and also show a bit of my collection because I don't really show you outside of that room, outside of my bookcases. So here's a bit of a different angle. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, drop a comment, share it. I don't know. Tell your friends about Dragon Ball Z. If you want a longer form video of like a complete breakdown, there is a person on here, Geekdom 101 on YouTube, who has a much more comprehensive video of each Dragon Ball Z release and what the flaws are, and shows you a side-by-side comparison, I believe, in some instances. So he might be the one to look up if you want a longer version of what I've just delivered, and with a bit more comprehensive breakdown. But, you know, I just wanted to give you my thoughts, show you a bit of the collection, and explain a bit behind what each Dragon Ball Z release brings to the table. And if you liked it, as I said, like, subscribe, drop a comment, share, I don't know, do a super chat, I don't know. I'm just going back to having fun with these videos again, because 4 months, yeah, we got a bit out of line with the videos. But yeah, we're getting back on track now, and I'm not going to go overkill with, like I did before, with just dailies. But yeah, I'm going to start doing some experimental videos. They won't all be physical media related, but I'll try to do everything. I've also shut down Wrestlers, so you'll see wrestling videos popping up on the channel again, and I'm hoping I can do some of that back on the main channel, but it won't be as often as I should. Anyways, guys, peace out. Catch you in the next one.